All right. Hopefully this is working. Welcome to Burdock Radio. My name is Keith Gosted. I am the producer of this show. Things you will hear over the next hour are representing the views of Burdock Radio and in no way reflect the views of River West Radio. All opinions, quotations, in no way represent River West Radio. Sole responsibility of me and my caller today, who is James Kopinski. River West Radio is not liable for any legal issues arising from the content of this program. Hello, James?
Hello.
Hey, you're on Burdock Radio. Thanks for calling. My guest today is James Kopinski, calling all the way from Portland right now. And he's the editor of the Conium Review, a literary journal, or review, based out of Portland. So, I don't know about you, man, but it's raining over here right now in Milwaukee, and every time it rains before a show, everything goes haywire. For me.
Okay.
So, what's the weather like in Portland?
Well, it's nice and sunny for a change. This is our 1 month when it's not, pouring and everything's done.
Okay. So it's sunny out there, and it's raining here. Is it just me, or is it always the opposite whenever I talk to you? I don't know.
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, you tend to get more sun there in Wisconsin, but you have those blizzards and whatnot, so,
Right. Well, we should stop talking about the weather and start talking about literature.
Yeah, probably.
And I see the first thing I got in my hands right now is actually a spring 2012 sampler of the Conium Review that you had brought along with you back in, I think, December of 2011 now. And I got my hands on it then. And it was a little affair, like not too much... not too dissimilar from like what Burdock magazine looks like. It's some pages kind of stapled together with some nice art and some good poems inside. And then I've got in my other hand a copy of Volume 1, Number 2 from the fall of 2012, and it's a nice, thick, juicy, review just packed full of fiction, all the kinds of fiction. And I guess I wanted to start talking about that because getting a lot of fiction to put into your review is kind of difficult sometimes, I would think, one would suspect anyway, because you have novella length stuff in here, and you have novelettes as well as short stories and flash fiction. So
it's not as difficult as you'd think. I think there's actually a strong desire from writers to work in these weird lengths like flash and novellas and everything, but a lot of journals tend to focus on what they consider, publishable length, which is, your typical 10-page short story, just because it's nice and tidy and fits within the page count that they have a budget for, and it's easier to kind of control. You can expect exactly this many, and you will fill that many pages, and you don't have to juggle as much.
Right.
So it needs to a little more work on our end, but people were really receptive in terms of like, oh, there's an outlet now for novellas. And there are some outlets, they're just fewer, and that's one thing I wanted to do with this journal was kind of open up the pages and not really limit it as much. You know, the issue could be anywhere from 90 pages to like 250. I think would probably be our cap in terms of anything beyond that. It would just not be cost effective to print.
Right.
But finding it was just a matter of kind of putting out the call submissions through different channels, and people were really responsive to that. And I was glad to see that nice mix of fiction and like flash fiction, and then the longer pieces. And there's some poetry in there as well.
Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about the flash fiction. Oh, I'm sorry, what were you going to say?
Yeah. Oh, I was just going to just follow up. Like, the little sampler was always intended to be this thin, easily produced, cheap thing that's cheap in terms of cost effective. I guess cheap is a sort of a derogatory word, but cost effective thing that we could show to people as a sampler of this is the voice you can expect once you get our funding and can put together the thicker volume. So we always wanted to go a little bigger with it.
Right. I wanted to ask actually a question about flash fiction, because I hadn't seen too many journals that publish flash fiction, but I also just in general haven't been exposed to it as much. And it's just me being lazy and not picking up a lot of other reviews probably. What qualifies something as a piece of flash fiction, first of all?
Well, for me, I arbitrarily cut it off at around 1,000 words. I think anything longer than that kind of blossoms into more of this full stories. I mean, I guess if you want to dive into the theory of it, you could look at like the narrative arc and talk about what sort of development happens in a short story versus like a small little piece of flash. But word count is the main thing, I think, that people look at.
Okay, because they take a lot of really interesting forms. There's things here that just look like nice big, almost like magazine pieces or something. And then there's things that are spread out and look a lot like poems. And they're really just like quotations, like the piece by, I'm holding it in my hand right now, I'm looking at Toll-Free Number by Chris Fradkin, and it's really interesting. It's, it's a series of, quotations, I guess, or quotes, and there's a narrative wind in dialogue, and I just thought that was a really
interesting piece. Talk about like Hemingway on steroids, kind of. He didn't tag any of the dialogue. If you look at it, it's just all quotes. It never says he said this, she said that, or there's no exposition. So,
yeah, there's no characters actually. I think.
Yeah, there's no named characters, but I mean, we can tell that it's two people having a conversation. We don't know anything about them, so we kind of get this small story from their words, which is kind of interesting, and I appreciated the experimentation of that piece, I guess.
Yeah.
There's a lot of room to play, even though you're working with, shorter pieces. I think I really love Flash, and I think you have to approach it from a less is more kind of mentality, and you have to be careful, and like every word needs to be like perfect. And I think it's challenging as a writer. It's doing this little space where you have less to work with, but then you come up with creative ways to do what you would normally do in a longer piece.
Right. And so then you've also got, like I was saying, some just plain old short stories, but they're really quite good, and they kind of occupy, I guess, a relatively small chunk of the journal, because I see the novelette is just it's huge, man. It's and I was kind of like intrigued by that, just the novella just being so long, and just kind of going out and putting something like that in print. I don't see a lot of novellas making it into print on their own as much as I once did, because not many Saul Bellows like sitting out there, I guess. But I thought that was really great that you guys managed to print stuff like that, and
Yeah, it is a weird length to work with the novella, and I think the only way it really works for us is we do take a bit of Flash along with it to balance it, because, otherwise if you're taking novellas, you have to, like, tell so many other talented authors, no, like, we don't have room for you. But we try to, I think, have a good mix and good balance and not have to turn away the Flash people or thing, so. we've got both ends of it. I think it kind of works.
Okay. Now, I also wanted to ask a little bit, because as I look it over, it says this publication is listed, and you got a few places where you're listed, and does that help get the diversity of submissions? Because I see there's a lot of people from all over the country sending you guys stuff, and it's
Yeah. Yeah, I think what you're looking at is, we're in Do It Folks Digest, Lit List, Every Writer's Resource, some different things by Best Books on some of their little directories. We're recently just listed with Poets and Writers, and CLMP and everything. So, yeah, that helps, I think, putting it out there. Also, we do a lot of work through the website, because a lot of these listings are online, even though it's strictly a print journal, and we're trying to fill this niche of people looking for this type of boutique print product. We're not naive about it. We know that the majority of the world lives online these days, so that's how we kind of reach out and grab people, is through the internet, through these listings, and all of that jazz.
right. You have a really good website. Oh, I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
No, go ahead.
You have a really good website, and I know that that's a good way of doing outreach and stuff. But what is it that drove you guys to do the print, and then what drove you in general, I guess, to start Conium in the review and the press now too?
I guess as far as the question of print versus electronic, or why I chose print, I'm one of those people who really likes books, and I don't own a Kindle, even though I know that's the way things are moving. So I really wanted to put out a high-quality print product, because in order to survive, I think a lot of small presses, not even small presses, but large presses, maybe more so, I want to be careful about generalizing, but just there's some presses out there cut costs in terms of design and production, and it doesn't look as aesthetically pleasing. But I think with people moving toward digital, there's an emerging market for people who really want to hold a book in their hand, and they really want it to be a well-crafted product, not just kind of something whipped off of the assembly line with just blockish letters on the front and no artwork and not much attention to layout and obviously the stories and the poems are the most important thing in it, but I really like the idea of putting them in this medium that I don't feel like print is dying. I feel like it's changing, and I want to be part of that group that recognizes how it's changing and make sure that we're doing what we need to do to make it survive, by pairing it with the website and that sort of thing. Just kind of putting out something that would work in today's environment, that is print, because I do love print. Right. So that's the spiel, I guess, on print and why I chose the print journal. But the motivation to get this thing started, backpedaled quite a ways. I don't know how far back I want to go, but
you don't have to go too far back.
I've been I guess we had planned on maybe touching on some older historical stuff, so I do that now. I did publish similar to Burdock or the Sampler, a smaller saddle stitch kind of DIY zine kind of thing for about from 2006 to 2008, called Beauty Truth, which is that line is pulled out of a Keats poem. And it was ekphrastic poetry is all we took, which is poetry that's written in response to works of visual art. And I did that for a while. We also did 3 small chapbooks out of that press, and I worked with a few other people to put this thing together. And I eventually kind of started moving away from poetry to fiction. A lot of the poetry in the Conium Review is reviewed by other editors, and I weigh in on it, but I give them more latitude because I'm more versed in fiction now. Mm-hmm. And so I handed that project off, and it sort of died, I guess, with the person I gave it to. Mm-hmm. But I've always had been wanting to get back into publishing and literature, and it's always kind of been a passion of mine. And shortly after the Beauty Truth thing, and I teamed up with a couple people to try to get something off the ground, and as a pilot, we kind of did this novella I had been working on and put that out. And that's another thing that it worked, it just didn't, I didn't have the time for it as I was graduating and starting doing freelance writing full-time and everything. I just realized it would be too much work to kind of start this press. And also, even though that was kind of earning its money back, it was hard to know where the next chunk of change would come from for the next book. So we sort of put that on hold, and I picked back up that block of ISBN numbers and that idea, and got the rights and secured all of the rights to that press, Broken Bird Press, and then I did Conium Press as an imprint and started this thing, and it just exploded. And it got to the point where I had to pull in lots of other editors to help me with it, because it became, again, huge, but huge in a way that I couldn't just let it, wither. I had to see this thing through and kind of keep it going. So now we have, and I guess that segues into, and you can interrupt me anytime.
Oh, no, it's okay.
That segues into, now that we did a online pledge drive kind of thing to get it started, and now it's paying for itself, and everything that we get, we plunge back into it and try to build this small press and make it into something bigger. And now we can actually start doing books again. We have that chunk of change that I was always worried where it would come from, and we're publishing your chapbook, so you know that.
Yes, thank you.
And this is sort of the first announcement of it, but it's something that's been in the works for a while. We're putting out High Art and Love Poems, ideally in December of this year. We'll see how the publication schedule works out and everything, but
now
we're moving in that direction. So,
how much spare change are we talking about? Are you flying me out to Portland?
No. But I want to do it in December. I want to do it in December so that it'll coincide with one of my trips to the Midwest, and we can kind of try to work without readings and everything on there, which I think I mentioned to you. But
right.
Yeah, we've got enough to do what we've been doing with the review with another publication, which is kind of get it into some bookstores, submit it to lots of different other journals for review, get some nice press going, and see where it takes it. And I was just lucky, I think, that you have this manuscript you were shopping around, because it gives me the opportunity to do it with somebody whose work I respect and admire, but also who I know, that I've known for many years, and I know you won't, be offended if it doesn't burn out, or if we are, because this is a brand new thing we're trying to kickstart up again, and I think it's going to go really, really well based on the publication channels and the marketing we've got in place. So we'll see. If it does go well, we've actually already have another book lined up for 2013, which would be awesome. So,
okay.
I'm a fiction author.
Well, I'm astonished by the success that you guys have had out there. I would ask, does Portland just have a much more, I guess I don't know how to put it, just more people buying books and stuff out there, or is it a bigger support network? I mean, how do you attribute the success of Conium?
I guess some of it could be the vibe of Portland. I've definitely noticed some really good local interest. When we recently wrapped up this summer reading series at Jack London here.
Okay.
And there was some good local support. Some authors came out, some listeners came out, and readers and everything. But a lot of it, and some of it might be the culture here with, Howells, and then also we've got Reading Friendly right around there, which is a good independent bookstore that has smaller press stuff. But I think some of it's more national, too. We did, like I said, that pledge drive, and a lot of the people who donated and helped support the printing of the first issue, they came from all over the place. Friends, and family members of myself and some of the other editors, as well as some people who we had reviewed their work and accepted it for the issue. They told people, and those people told people, and it kind of grew, I think, evenly in small pockets across the country, not just Portland.
Oh, okay. So the new model then that you come up with, which I really like, is using the internet as the catalyst to get the printed word out.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think that's really something. It's really great that you. First of all, I have to say thank you for the kind words and for publishing my chapbook. That's very nice of you. But I also want to say it's really great that you're already looking forward past that to continuing to publish new works by new authors. I think that's something that on a small scale DIY kind of initially anyway budget, that's really admirable, and it's to be commended for that. And you're not doing it alone, though. You said you have a great staff of fellow editors out there. Where did you harvest all these people? They're all out of the Portland area?
For the most part, yeah, they're out of here, or at least out of the Pacific Northwest. Initially, when I first decided, hey, I want to start up a journal again, this could be fun, just like when I did the poetry journal, I didn't know that it would be something as big as it was, in terms of the number of submissions we got once we started making use of those internet channels and kind of doing the homework. But initially it was just kind of me, and then within a few weeks it became me and Uma, who is my partner. It just naturally made sense, like, okay, you're the next room over, we live in the same apartment, I don't know what to think of this submission, why don't you read it and tell me your opinion? And it made sense. It was easy, and I respect her opinions as a reader, and they're also very different from mine, though. Like, she and I have hugely different tastes in books, so when we were able to agree on a manuscript, we knew it was, really good. So that worked, and then we were doing that, and then very quickly I had to expand further, and I looked to my MFA program at Goddard College, and Susan Lynch, who lives near Portland, volunteered to be another editor, and I started giving her some of the workload. And we all take on different parts and have a different level of, how many hours we put in per week and exactly which decisions we make about the press. But I think we function pretty good as a team. So it was us, and then Tristan Beach came in, also from the Goddard MFA program, as originally a guest editor because he wasn't sure if he'd have time to see this through issue after issue after issue. And luckily, I was able to retain him. He said he could stick with us. So he's now on permanent staff, and now we have a rotating guest editor who is not actually out of the Pacific Northwest. She's working remotely via the internet. We have regular check-ins online and discuss the work that way. And the second guest editor was Ian Chung, who I found through his journal, and he worked out great. And our next one is Mark Schuster, and he is the author of, most recently, The Grievers from the Permanent Press. And we found him by his Small Press Reviews website. He reviewed our book, and then, or not our book, our journal. And once I put out the call for guest editors, he was quick to kind of latch onto that because he did like the first issue and second issue quite a bit. And we got quite a few applications for guest editors. We kind of put out this call for it. He stood out as having the most, enthusiasm for what we're doing and also adding something to the table. I think he's turning out to be a good fit so far.
Well, that's. I gotta say, I really, I guess I'm just glowing with this thing because I really do enjoy the work that you've been doing with this. But I wanted to move off of Conium for a little bit and talk about things that you've done. And I was going to start. Let's see. I'm trying to figure out where a good starting point would be, because you're a transplant. We've actually got a lot of Wisconsinites that live out in Portland now. From what I understand, it's the place to be. for people that want to flee Wisconsin. I don't know why that is.
People who flee anywhere kind of come here. At least that's the vibe I get. There's a lot of transplants. Like, people don't generally, come from here, who live here, which is kind of weird.
Mm-hmm. And so you were writing mainly fiction when you were back here in Wisconsin, but you did write some poems. I did put a poem of yours in, I think, Burdock 8, and that was right around the time that you and I first got acquainted. And I was trying to think if you were writing exclusively poetry at that time, or if you were still writing a lot of fiction. Because now that you're a fiction editor, I was wondering, here's the question, do you have time nowadays for your own work when you're doing all the editing work?
It's tough, but yes, I do have time for it. In terms of back then, I was writing, I guess, both poetry and fiction. I've moved to almost predominantly fiction now. I don't really consider myself much of a poet. I kind of dabbled in it, and every now and then, came up with something good. But I enjoy fiction a lot more these days, I think. And as far as finding time, though, yeah, it's tough. It's a little easier now that I've brought in so many extra people as soon as we started getting hundreds of submissions instead of the few dozen that I anticipated. And it was through the extra hands help. But, yeah, I find time. I kind of have to since I'm still in the MFA program.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the biggest thing that, as far as balancing and juggling things, the biggest thing that has gone down is my ability to submit elsewhere and that sort of thing. I find that I am moving slower in terms of polishing my manuscripts and getting them ready to send out. So it's a give and take. It's, I have to sacrifice a little of my time and my speed with my manuscript in order to read a bunch of other people's manuscripts. But It's getting done slowly but surely. So.
And you're also teaching a class now. It's a story writing class?
Yeah, it starts at the end of this month on, I believe, it's on Wednesday. So it starts on September 26th. It's like an 8-week course at Mount Hope Community College. Their Portland branch. They have 3 campuses. It's on short story writing. One of the lectures will also be on just small press publication and talking about some of the issues of micropresses and things that I've had some exposure to because I've almost exclusively published with small presses so far and have a little bit of background in that area. So giving I don't just want to teach the craft of writing. I want to give these students some tools to kind of take their work and put it out there and, that sort of thing, too. But, yeah.
Okay. And then I was talking about the other editors you have. They're also all teaching at the moment, I think, or about to.
Tristan Beach's poetry course actually starts today in Lacey, Washington. It's I think St. Martin's University is the name of it. And Susan Lynch, another associate editor, she's doing a course through Mount Hope Community College, the same place that I'm teaching through, but at their Gresham campus. She's working out there. And those are both poetry courses because they have more of a poetry background, whereas I'm doing the short story course.
Okay. Do you find the stuff that you are writing now to be more based in Portland now? Are you moving your locations around? Does the area inspire you to write differently?
You mean in terms of the setting of the work or
the setting, and the style? Because I know there's some writers that when they move, a lot of the attitude changes of a person because you're getting new energy around you and a new environment.
I don't know how much of it I can attribute to Portland or not, but my writing, the first thing that comes to mind is the sort of informal city motto is supposed to be, keep Portland weird. And I guess my writing has gotten a little weirder as far as stylistically, which is a direction I'm happy to go in. At first I was resistant and wanted to keep things grounded in sort of contemporary settings in society, and I didn't want to, get pigeonholed as a genre writer, that's sci-fi, or that's magic realist weirdness, and I didn't want to move. I was hesitant, but I like it now. It's so much more fun to write, and that's kind of where I'm headed, is weird stuff. As far as the location, I guess I've been writing a few things that take place in vague veiled archetypes of the Pacific Northwest landscape. So it's had an influence as far as geographic stuff.
Okay, and then I was going to also ask. I'm trying to think of my questions now, because this is the rain, man. You gotta understand. It was raining here.
Oh yeah, I get rain.
And it messes with me in so many ways I can't even begin to describe. So talk to me a little bit about the outlying area a little bit, because you've traveled now probably around Oregon and have seen a little bit of the nature out there. And if that's something that creeps in to your life and your daily writing as well.
Surprisingly, not as much. I think when I was living in the Midwest, there was a little more of that in my writing. There was a little more of this kind of sublime kind of reverence for nature, or themes about the destruction of nature and things kind of creeping in and destroying it. And there's a bit of that in this piece, Liberty Lane, that was recently in Line Zero. There's a bit of this kind of destruction of nature kind of theme sort of thing. So this idea of looking at the landscape and looking at the beauty of everything around you, that I guess more existed when I was in the Midwest, and I think maybe part of why that was, if I'm thinking regionally, part of maybe why that was in my writing at the time was, in the Midwest, I drove everywhere,
Yeah.
You kind of have to. A lot of the stuff's more involved and everything, so I got to, drive out to parks more often and that sort of thing. Portland has tons of amazing natural beauty right within the city. There's some really great parks. We have Forest Park, which is basically a huge forest. So I get that, but I'm never that far from the city, because I use public transit a lot, and, I don't like to drive as much. I can say, I'm either going green or maybe just, too much of a bum to have a car. I don't know. But, it's, and I got the coast here, and I don't know. I guess I do have a lot of nature all around, and I do get to see it a lot, but I don't know, for some reason it's something I left back in the Midwest.
Mm-hmm.
I'm writing more urban stuff now, I think. More things that take place in the city, or either in these nondescript kind of desolate areas.
Mm-hmm.
I don't quite know why that is. Although I did recently write this one piece, and I don't know if I want to go into it since it still hasn't.
Well, you can sit on it for a little bit if you want to. If it's not done.
It's nature based, so maybe it's creeping back in.
Okay. Well, all that public transportation is probably going to get to you at some point. You're going to have to start writing about it. We have buses here, as you know, in Milwaukee, but we just don't have a train or anything like that gets us around. So it's all a lot of driving and walking in the rain.
It's beautiful.
A lot of walking in the rain with your laptop and your backpack, which is it's not fun. I gotta stop. I just can't. You also have a podcast series on the Conium website. We'll talk about that a little bit. And you've done some interviews here in Milwaukee, and you've done interviews out there in Portland and on the West Coast. And I tried to remember the list, but I don't have it in front of me of who you've all interviewed up to date. And do you conduct all the interviews, or do you take turns with the other editors?
I do most of them just because I have the podcasting stuff, the equipment and everything. So I do most of them, but Uma has been a co-host on a couple. There was one that we did in Fort Townsend, Washington, during one of the Goddard MFA residencies. And there was Tristan Beach was on that one. And then there was Chelsea Werner-Gatsby, who we published in the second issue. But at the time, she wasn't published with us yet. She was on as more of a She was the editor-in-chief of the Pitkin Review. We were talking to her about that project. And,
Okay.
yeah, so in that one, another person, some other people were brought in. It was sort of this, and Summer Brave was there, and it was this round table kind of thing. I don't really feel there was a specific host. It was more just people talking. And you kind of helped me on, episode 4 with Cynthia Spencer.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, you were, I don't know if you thought of yourself as a host or a guest. I thought of you kind of as a host because you were more familiar with her work, and I had only read some of it. So.
Yeah. She actually just was out touring. I can't remember how far west she got. I think she did manage to make it to Seattle at some point, but I don't know if she dipped into Portland. I didn't get a chance to talk to her. She just got back like a week ago. But yeah, she was out on the road all over the place doing state fairs and such, and county fairs, which I'm like, that's a really funny kind of, or it's fun actually. It's funny and it's fun.
Yeah.
So your reading series that you conduct, where do you have that again?
The Jack London, it's in Southwest Portland, which is like the downtown area, and it's this like bar / lounge / you can get food there too. There's like a little restaurant in it and stuff.
Vegetarian?
Yeah. No.
No?
Yeah, there's not much that I can eat there.
That's rare. I've heard that Portland is like ripe with vegetarian and vegan.
For the most part.
You couldn't find a vegan place? Come on now.
Oh yeah, they're all over. But in the Jack London is more meaty, I guess.
More into meat.
I've had their fries and they're good. I've had the things off the menu that I can have.
You're right.
And yeah, so that's where we hold it. And they're a fun little bar. They're kind of they're a little more. It's at its heart, it's a bar, but it's not. They don't do karaoke. They do readings, and they have. I attended this lecture series they had on like mythology, and got to learn a little bit about some ancient Greek myths and stuff from some visiting lecturer. They kind of do things like that a lot, which is kind of cool. So.
Now, I have to go back to another question I just thought of for the Conium. I again apologize for the chaotic nature of this interview. It's just terrible weather. Anyway, you're not associated directly with any universities out there in Portland, are you?
No.
So it's all done DIY, and you don't have it, or not DIY, but it's all done. You are in control of it, and you don't necessarily have any kind of party line to pull or what have you. Do you find that frees you up, and in terms of like the types of submissions you get? Do you get more stuff from people who haven't been through a program versus places that would probably, if it was a graduate journal, I'm assuming they all get that kind of information at whatever graduate program they're at? Yeah,
we do get a wide range of people from a wide range of backgrounds, and I like that. I think it's a disservice to literature to assume that good writers can only come out of an MFA program. I'm sure that it helps. It does. I know it helps because I'm in one. Definitely, everyone has room to learn and to grow, but that's not 100% the only way somebody can learn how to write. And we do get. In the first issue there's everything, and in the second issue, and then just thinking of the submissions that we've gotten, there's everything from day laborers or people who work at like a they're like bank tellers and stuff. I'm just thinking of some of the cover letters I've read vocationally. We've got blue collar jobs, we've got white collar jobs, we've got people in academia. The work, and I try not to really look at the cover letters much. Until after I've been through the submission, so it doesn't kind of paint that that bias toward like, oh, well, they have a fancy degree, so they must be good. I let the writing kind of speak for itself. And
right. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I think not being affiliated with the university does open us up to that. It's a nice mix, and I feel like there was something else I had to say, and I'm repeating myself.
Well, I was going to shift gears again.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
If it comes back to me, I'll just jump over you.
Well, yeah, if you remember what it was, tell me, because now I'm just going to start asking you about restaurants in Portland.
Okay.
Where do you eat now out there?
I cook a lot. I like to cook, so I do eat at home quite a bit. And but if I'm going out, there's this Indian restaurant near my house. How far I got, it's pretty good.
Okay. Do they have a buffet?
They do. I've never done the buffet. I've only been there for dinner, but I know they have it as soon as I'm fine.
Okay.
There's a ton of Mexican places around here. Mexican is always, safe for vegetarians because you can get something with beans and it's always delicious. So
Right.
I do that quite a bit. I don't know. There's quite a nice amount of little eateries in this area. There's a nice Thai place across from this theater called the Mission Theater, and they have this. They do a drag show, and you get to eat some nice food while you sit there. It's fun.
All right.
So there's that.
What's the music scene like in Portland?
I'm the wrong person to ask. I have weird biases about music and whatnot. I don't dig indie music, or
You
at
don't.
least not all of it, and not as much as some people do these days. Some of it I like. I'm not as hip to the scene maybe. I've heard we have good music, but I don't know.
Okay. Well,
I've seen punk bands that I like in this area. So.
you are in the literary scene, so it is difficult to do a lot of crossover work, I imagine.
Yeah.
But I was just curious.
When I moved here, I kind of left music behind. So.
Well, what neck of the woods?
Right away, I was busking for a little while. I did some of that and kind of did a few open mics and that sort of thing, but I wasn't, trying to embed myself in and get shows and stuff. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was going to ask, because not knowing anything about Portland, what's the layout like? It's supposed to have a really good public transit system. Like, you got a train that just takes you all over the place in the main city, right?
Yeah, it's nice. I mean, one thing that attracted me to the region was it is very walker-friendly and very, biker-friendly and that sort of thing. I'm not a huge car person. The layout, yeah, it's a lot of it's pretty nicely designed. As soon as you get, up into the hills and out in the other areas, it's a little more sprawly. But like my neighborhood is the Alphabet District, and it's all set up in this nice little grid where you can from the river, the Willamette River, you can count First Street, and then in the Second Street, and it just keeps going by the numbers, and then going the other way, it starts. It does the alphabet, A, not quite through D, but each street has a different letter. So it's this nice, even if you've never been here, it's really nice. You can just be like, oh, well, I'm on the L Street, I want to get to the G Street, so I must go this way. Or I'm on 20th and I want 30th, so let's head that direction.
Okay.
It's an easy city to get around. It's nice.
I have to come visit you at some point, but plane tickets are so expensive. I don't know. But you guys run a pretty successful journal, so maybe, right? You can, since I'm going to be a published author, right? I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Well, we could do another pledge drive. Send Pete out here for a reading tour.
I probably won't be able to afford my way back. I can't go too far away.
Once you get here, you're on your own.
I can't go too far away. I have a cat now I have to take care of, and it's ridiculous. How's Lester, by the way?
Oh, he's good.
Okay.
Chilling in a cat.
Lester is James's cat, for those of you that aren't in the know.
Yeah, we have a friend now, Dreams. Big elderly cat. They hang out.
Are they both elderly?
No, Lester's only 5.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, I didn't think Lester was that old.
15, 16.
Oh.
Yeah, I have cats. I'm just remembering this great tweet and I hate that I'm even on Twitter. Mr. Like, oh, I love Prince, but we have a Twitter account, so there you go.
Well, you don't. You have one as Conium, which is important because that's publicizing. If you have one that's James Gapinski and you just tweet photos of your cat with captions, it's a different story.
Yeah, no, my advisor at Goddard has been Brian Boudinot. He was talking about how his publisher or agent or somebody told him he needs to get a Twitter account, and he made him get it. And, it's part of being in publishing and being an author these days. But yeah, I'm remembering this tweet from Pank Magazine about, it was just this, I don't know, I can't quote it, just this snarky tweet about, like, why do authors always have to, or how many times do I have to see a bio that ends with, this author lives in such and such city with his cat, And I'm like, dang, that's on my bio. And like,
is that on my bio now?
I don't know.
I can't remember if I included that detail or not. I'm trying to decide if I want that now. I think I want it more now because I want to be
part of that elite club of cat people.
Yeah, because I want my demographic to know exactly know that I'm reaching out to them, which is single cat-owning men in their early 30s. So that's my audience, I think.
Yep.
Well, I was gonna close up because we're getting down to it. You came out last December, and I can't remember. You didn't make it out this year at all yet, have you? I can't remember if I saw.
Have I? I don't know. I feel like yes. Yeah, I was.
Yeah.
I think.
I don't have that sweet place in River West anymore, and so there's no grilling in the backyard. The Boca Burgers will not be cooking. But if you come visit me in December, maybe I can make you some Boca Burgers on my stove, my little range, so you can relive the past inside.
Yeah.
You came back out here in December of last year and performed at the Burdock 10 release.
Yep.
And did a really nice little video, which is on YouTube, and I'll just have to. By golly, I'll just have to post a link to that too on the Burdock Radio page. So, but that was a really fun event, and I was really glad that we were able to schedule it and have it coincide with your visit, so that you could perform there and take part in that whole thing, because it was a really crazy experience.
That was fun.
Oh yeah, it was great, and. I don't know. You're shy about your music, but I happen to like James's music, and I've played with him a number of times. So, I guess if you're a close friend of James and you don't want to, well, how do you want to play this, man? Do you want to play it like you're proud of these songs again, or are we?
Oh no, I guess no. It's not that I'm ashamed of my music per se. I mean. I've played at the Miramar Theater enough times in front of people, and it's been out there, and it's on the Burdock 10 album. That one song is. So people hear these things. It's not quite what I'm doing right now.
No,
and I like to kind of focus on like, now I'm writing and like this is.
I'd like to think of it as you're displaying your diversity of talents and the depth of your creative soul. So.
See, this stems from background for, I guess, the listeners and stuff. This stems from Keith, wanting to play the song he's going to play at the end here, and me being like, I don't know.
No, I don't know. And it's like, come on.
And him insisting to the point where even if I said no, it would just happen anyway, which is fine.
Yeah, we don't use a lot of emoticons in our emails to each other, so we can never really tell if the other one is being sincere or sarcastically snarky. Sometimes.
Just light out parentheses, like frowny face.
Yeah. I'm gonna start putting more emoticons in the text.
Yeah, but I think more the thing is that, at least in my view, it's diverse, but I feel like the people who are drawn to my writing are a different crowd than the people who listen to my music, and I was, writing this music in a very different space, in a different time in my life, and a different I still play, in the comfort of my nice little apartment, and occasionally busking, I'll play some little anti-folk tunes, which are just these, fun little carefree songs about, I mean, some of them are darker, but they're basically these, I hate to use the adjective quirky, because it's so, but, like in the Kenya Dawson vein, or like Jeffrey Lewis and stuff.
Sure.
And that's the sort of thing that I think has a very distinct, very small, very niche following. It's fun, and I love it, but I've realized it's not something that a lot of people think is really fun. It's like, well, I have fun with it, so I'm just going to keep playing it by myself, and that's what I'll do. But, I mean, it's sidewalk music. It's the sort of stuff that I think you play with your friends, and that it's how I blew off steam when I was working more full-time as like a freelance writer. Now I do it part-time, but It's sort of, I played music as like this release, and it's not, I didn't craft the songs to like be super deep. They work on a few levels, but they were, you and me goofing around at the Miramar Theater. And
they were good songs, James.
It's really, really good in that sense. It's just I'm hesitant to like back it up next to like a short story that I've spent,
I picked this song
up. Like workshopping and tearing apart, and I'm
sure,
like,
sure.
This
Don't let. All right, everybody. If you're sensitive and you like James's fiction, and you think you're not gonna like his music, you guys turn it off now, because I got to close down the shop. Thanks, James, for calling. This is a good segue, actually.
I know you got to wrap it up. I will say the new stuff I'm writing, though, it's supposed to be fun. I don't want to make that distinction that it's not fun. It's just fun sometimes in a more dark way.
Okay.
I still like that fun with what I write.
Well, you have to post the rest of this in the comments section on the website.
Oh, I will do that.
Right.
You can wrap up. Thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you, James. Next week's guest is going to be folk legend Larry Penn, and we're going to sign off now with some anti-folk from an anti-legend, James Kapinski. Thanks again for calling, James.
Thanks.
Spread our blankets on the beach, speak of robots and beliefs in antiquated little things like love and magic, beings and giants who live on clouds, and others who are too proud to notice castles on the beach strongly echo these beliefs. Spread our blankets on the sand. We'll forget the reprimand of a sign that says closed today. No entry, private, go away. We'll skip a bunch of tiny stones across the ocean's mighty shore, traveling over all the waves that echo our distant graves. And we'll forget about those fears as we down a couple of beers, and then go home and take a bath. Get the sand out of your ass and get your vocals in funny tune, 'cause I like singing with you. We will hit the sidewalk show, 'cause that's the best place to go, when we'll sing songs with our friends until the day comes to an end. And we'll sing all about the beach, how we laugh at our beliefs, We'll sing songs with our friends until the day comes to an end. And we'll sing all about the beach and how we laugh at our beliefs. We'll sing songs with our friends until the day comes to an end. And we'll sing all about the beach and how we laugh at